For the first time in my career, I'm completely at a loss for words on how to start a review. If you've been around my channel for a while, you'll no doubt know that I'm usually jumping into critical analysis right off the bat, truly delving into why a movie works and breaking it down layer by layer with unflinching resolve. However, I find it incredibly difficult to even begin to put into words my feelings toward a specific movie release in the coming month. This is not because the movie in question is bad or even remotely close to it. In fact, the movie is almost a masterpiece within the current box office landscape in this day and age. Rather, I find it almost impossible to describe the sheer amount of love and admiration I have for this film in any rational form. I am so ultimately moved and astounded by this film that simple descriptors could not do justice to the amount of passion I feel towards this project. And that project in question, as you might have guessed, is indeed the new adaptation of Andy Weir's incredible novel Project Hail Mary, which releases in theaters March 20th. Now, when the film was initially announced, I had little to no knowledge or attachment to the project in general. I had briefly heard of the novel the film was based on in passing a few times over the last few years, but as someone who didn't really care for The Martian, both in book form and movie form, I was never really intrigued to jump headfirst into another Andy Weir outing. However, in the recent months before this film's release, an interesting shift occurred within my social media algorithms entirely. This shift in question landed me upon a side of social media that was proclaiming their unabashed love for the novel, claiming it was one of the best books they've ever read and showing excitement towards the upcoming film adaptation. My personal philosophy when it comes to book to film adaptations has not changed from my younger years, which is, if a movie has a book it's based upon, I will read that book before I watch the movie. The reason I pursue this with every adaptation is simple. I find that there is so much truth held within source materials that cannot be instilled within movie adaptations no matter how good they are, and I want to be able to visualize the plot from my own viewpoint rather than the filmmakers at first pass. So with this in mind, I decided to take the advice of these adoring Project Hail Mary fans and downloaded the audiobook that was read by Ray Porter, which was over 16 hours long. Over the course of a week and a half, I devoured the audiobook, losing myself completely inside of the world as Porter's narration truly captivated every single moment. I finished the audiobook absolutely shell-shocked at what I just witnessed. I not only loved the material at play here in the book overall, but I was also hesitant and quite nervous to see the end product of the film. I had faith in filmmakers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who have rarely, if ever, let a captivated audience down before. Rather, I was nervous that the sheer scope of that novel would be difficult to capture in the form of a 2.5-hour movie. Project Hail Mary is a book full of rich depth and detail, and I truly wanted such detail to remain within the confines of an abridged adaptation. I sat down for my press screening last week, and as the lights dimmed and the MGM logo appeared on screen, I settled in and prepared myself to truly experience everything this film was about to offer. And I walked out of my screening in an absolute daze with tears in my eyes. Shock and awe was more than felt in that moment. And as I drove home in absolute silence with a few tears in my eyes, I realized that this was it. Project Hail Mary is not only one of the best films I've seen so far this year, but it truly is the exact example of why so many people love cinema in general, myself included. It's the type of unabashed and visceral experience you can only find inside of this art form. And the amount of painstaking effort and detail that went to adapting every single moment of this novel into a format like film in general is almost too much to fully comprehend at times as you're watching it. Indeed, I am saying it right here and right now. It remains to be seen if I will watch a movie better than Project Hail Mary all year, and I'd be willing to make bets that this will surely end up on my top 10 list of the year come December. I can't even truly say anything to encapsulate how good this movie truly is. All I can say is just, wow, what a film. Project Hail Mary, as many unfamiliar with the novel might have guessed, is indeed a movie set in space. It's a common sentiment among most of the box office landscape and audiences in particular that all space movies are alike in more ways than one. And for Project Hail Mary, I definitely got some influences here. If you liked the movie Interstellar for its emotional musings on our place in the universe, combined with the sheer spectacle of sci-fi action, combined with the quieter and more contemplative tone of a first contact story like Arrival, you will love this movie. However, although those two comparisons are superficially accurate, I also got some flashes of a movie like Wall-E in there, in which the core story of two individuals alone in their own trajectories in the vast universe come together to recognize their differences and save their worlds as they know it. Indeed, Project Hail Mary is a first contact story, and many who read the novel surely know this. However, part of the reason it works so well is because this is the rare first contact story that supersedes so many of the formulaic trappings and ideas of this subsection of film. You see, where most sci-fi movies involving the subject matter focus on the immediate fallout out of what this communication would mean for our world as we know it. Project Hail Mary is the rare story that focuses on the core conversations and connections between species in the quietest moments imaginable, and about how these specific small moments can make all the difference entirely. Please be advised that as with all the reviews on my channel, the following review of Project Hail Mary will indeed be spoiler-free. However, I do want to make it abundantly clear for this film, because I've read the novel and seen the film now, that there are so many surprises in story here for audiences who are unfamiliar with the novel. It is going to be almost impossible to seemingly tiptoe around certain subjects in this review. That's why I want to address that in all likelihood there's a seemingly small yet still present chance that I might accidentally touch on slightly spoiler-focused territory on accident. So viewer discretion past this point is advised in case you want to preserve the magic for yourself entirely. However, I'll do my best to make sure everything is kept under wraps to the best of my ability. Project Hail Mary opens as we are introduced to Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, who wakes up from a coma with no memory of who he is or what he is doing. After discovering he's in space aboard a vessel called the Hail Mary, Ryland begins to piece together his situation. He's on board a research vessel in space by himself, trying to solve the problem of why the sun is dying as he knows it. You see, Earth is facing a cataclysmic problem that might involve extinction in a new ice age, and Ryland has been sent to space to discover the solution to this problem. As flashbacks to Ryland's life offer glimpses at a past sense of being, he discovers that he's not the only one in the universe searching for a way to fix the sun's expansive problem, and that someone or something might be the key to saving his universe as he knows it. Let's get it out of the way first. Ryan Gosling is pitch perfect as the lead role of Ryland Grace here. If you've read the book, you'll no doubt know there's a specific characterization angle instilled into Ryland that holds humor and sarcasm with ease, but also surprising emotional depth and nuance as well. And Gosling is precisely the correct actor to balance both sides of this with ease. Ryland becomes a character that audiences deeply empathize with and understand. And as the film's stellar sequencing device comes into play with flashbacks, it becomes easier for us as audiences to broach understanding in a Grace's situation and the pressure that slowly mounts to save the entire world as we know it, much to his reluctance. Gosling's intrinsic humor and charm is juxtaposed with Sandra Huller's performance as Eva Stratt, the head of the Hail Mary project and direct supervisor to Ryland, who holds more than an abundance of surprises as the film progresses. Huller stunned audiences in 2023's Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest, and she continues to bring such an intense presence to the character of Eva Stratt. Eva is a character whom audiences can't decide whether to trust or hate, and Huller's icy and unmatched demeanor conveys a specific characterization in such a well-realized way. Gosling and Huller's clashing dynamics and arcs further intensify the prevalence of this situation, drawing audiences into a sheer battle of wills between two individuals who often don't see eye to eye in the process, but must put aside their differences for the betterment of their world as they know it. Anyone who has read the book will be able to tell you that Project Hail Mary contains some incredible spectacle and action within its pages that is almost breathtaking in scope at times, and this is clearly apparent in this adaptation as well. One of the central questions I had pondered at length heading into this film was, will Phil Lord and Christopher Miller be able to capture that same intensity and scope within the confines of a 2.5-hour movie? And oh my gosh, the answer is yes. It's almost unreal how fast and unrelenting this film is from start to finish. Following the innovative structure of the novel itself, it throws audiences in the mix right from the start and doesn't let up an intensity until the finale comes to a close. Simply put, this is large-scale spectacle filmmaking in such a whole and complete package. And this is not the kind of movie that will do itself justice on a small streaming screen. This movie is meant to be seen at a theater on the biggest screen possible with a sold-out crowd around you taking it all in and experiencing it at once. And you owe it to yourself to see the film in this regard and format if you love cinema as an art form at all. It's one of the very few times in recent memory I've watched a film in pure awe and bliss from start to finish, almost floating on cinematic cloud nine as Lord and Miller take you on such a sprawling and lyrical journey across the cosmos. This is also due in part to the framing and cinematography by Greg Fraser, who more than captures both the intense and claustrophobic confines of the Hail Mary vessel and the vast expanse of deep space, leading to a blend between the two that immerses audiences into this incredible setting and atmosphere from the start. I absolutely love Drew Goddard's screenplay as well, which manages to translate Weir's original book into a format that moves in such a present and grounded way, conveying each of the story's intricacies and moments with unflinching resolve. And this is an especially important quality considering the core subject matter of the film itself. I mentioned before that Project Hail Mary is a first contact movie done in such an innovative way, and this is clearly exemplified within one of my favorite characters in sci-fi fiction, Rocky. Now, if you don't know who Rocky is, you'll surely find out as you watch the film, but Gosling's Grace essentially comes into contact with an extraterrestrial life form from another galaxy who is thrown into the same exact situation he is in. The sun is also dying for Rocky's five-legged spider-like species, and it's up to Rocky to go save the planet from extinction, much like Grace has been sent for the human race. On a superficial level, the core dynamic between Grace and Rocky is worth the price of admission alone. What I love about Project Hail Mary is that it's not a film that seems to rush the intricate process of bridging the communication and language gap, like a lot of other sci-fi media out there would do, but rather devotes time and care to evolving the communication between Grace and Rocky, and allowing both characters to truly understand one another in every sense of the word. The sheer magic of Project Hail Mary lies not only in the discovery of an extraterrestrial species, but also the way both characters bridge their communication gaps, further connecting and realizing their own places in the universe. As audiences soon discover, Grace and Rocky really aren't that different, and this is why the material works so well. Special mention in this regard has to go to the special effects team for bringing this rock-like alien life form to life in such a visceral way, and to James Ortiz for his incredible vocal performance as well, which both contribute to such a realistic touch on the character in a way you can't imagine heading in. Simply put, if you couldn't tell, I loved this film in every sense of the word. In fact, my only criticism holding back the material overall, which was another thing holding back the book itself for me, is the insistence on Marvel-esque dialogue to convey otherwise dramatic and prevalent moments throughout. Project Hail Mary might be a fun and enthralling film in every sense of the word, but it also doesn't shy away from portraying some thought-provoking thematic material that will hit incredibly hard for audiences. In fact, the core thematic meaning of the film concerns sacrificing yourself to save entire future generations. As Grace is tasked with the inherent role of providing the future of his species, even if it means his own extinction in the process. However, on a deeper and more complex level, the inherent meaning and profound nature of Project Hail Mary becomes apparent, which is the true magic of this project. This film is, in a sense, about connection, even across the vast array of the universe. However, beyond this, it's also a film that raises such a contemplative and sure statement itself, which is, we are not alone out there. And that's true no matter what standpoint you look at this film at. On a superficial level, as Grace travels to the vast reaches of the cosmos, he faces anxieties and pressures tantamount to the survival of his own species. However, he also discovers a little rock-like alien creature, also facing the same anxieties and pressures to protect those he holds closest to him. I think the greatest thing about Project Hail Mary is that, even in the cold and distant expanse of the cosmos, the warmth and levity that sparks between Grace and Rocky holds such a profound and prevalent impact. In those moments, two distant strangers are drawn together by the necessity of survival and form a bond unlike anything that could have comprehended it in that moment. The impact of this is clear and apparent. We are not alone, whether in our suffering, fears, or anxieties. It's so easy to get drawn inside of our own little worlds at times, never truly believing that out there can even be one single individual who understands our lived experience or what we're going through at the time. However, if we allow ourselves to open up and communicate with the world around us, we can discover so much more in the process that can heal and help not just us, but our environment as well. And on that level, this material just really hit close to home for me. I struggled with prevalent self-worth issues and depression years ago. There was a time growing up where I was ostracized by my peers for being, quote, different, and never truly felt like my place in the universe held much impact. However, it was through later meeting different individuals who struggle with the same issues I did at one time or another that I truly realized the greatest thing about our lives is the universal nature of our lived existences. Out there, and what can seem like universes away from our own self-centered viewpoints, there might be people struggling with the same woes, anxieties, fears, and pressures we are. And it's truly important to take a step back and realize that we're all in this together. We are not alone. We can truly help each other heal. And as audiences watch Grace and Rocky affectionately fist each other's bumps, which is a reference that will surely not sound weird or discordant if you've watched the film, this meaning and theme takes such a resonant impact and focus. It's true that Project Hail Mary is a film that will be a crowd-pleasing delight for audiences upon its release. The intensity and action, combined with the spectacle-focused filmmaking and incredible effects, will make sure that this wild ride is something audiences cherish. And on that ultimate level, the film truly soars. However, Project Hail Mary is equally as impressive because it's simultaneously so much more than just a superficial label. It's funny, it's heartbreaking, and it's incredibly timely. It's a poignant and emotional rumination on our place in the universe and about advocating for change to ensure we save this incredible planet we live on. Yet most importantly, Project Hail Mary is a film that, even though it takes place light years away in space, reminds us of the connections and friendships and relationships we can make right next to us, and how important of an impact they can hold in our lives. Grace and Rocky might save stars, as they affectionately put it within the film, but they also heal hearts. And that's what makes Project Hail Mary so special. That's why I'm giving Project Hail Mary 5 out of 5 stars. Project Hail Mary releases in theaters March 20th. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.